asymptotic limits, keeping the brain optimistically in bounds. So let's get started. And I used the music from Jurassic Park to introduce this podcast because the movie's theme extols how much the human brain can accomplish, even though it has built-in limits. Not long ago, a listener asked me to make a podcast explaining the concept of asymptotic limits. That's why this podcast is titled Asymptotic Limits, Keeping the Brain Optimistically in Bounds. And I've pulled together a number of articles and videos, as well as the findings of great 20th century thinkers to make it. So here we go. Neuroscientists and psychologists have concluded that the human brain cannot handle too much complexity. The brain is an electrochemical processor, but it gets lost when trying to multitask or keep track of too much information. The brain can't handle more than 7 items at once. If it tries to handle more than that, it gets confused. And the brain can't deal with infinity. It wants the certainty of finite closure. George Cantor, the mathematician who used set theory to give a rigorous definition of infinity, suffered a mental breakdown from the strain of developing it and the criticisms that it attracted. By the way, there are an infinite number of infinities, both countable and uncountable. But please don't dwell on that for very long. The team of 2 great early 20th century linguists and mathematicians, Ludwig Wittgenstein and Bertrand Russell, showed that human language has built-in logical inconsistencies. Their successor, Noam Chomsky, said the same when coming up with linguistic X-bar theory patterned on logic. But it too is inconsistent. It turns out that any logic beyond propositional and predicate logic is both inconsistent and incomplete. And the 20th century logician Kurt Gödel proved in his completeness and incompleteness theorems that even mathematics has true propositions that cannot be proved and may have theorems which have been proved that may in fact be false. Don't ponder this further unless you want to get a headache. The emergence concept has gained traction in the last 50 years. It is used to explain how phenomena or ideas we don't understand gradually become known when our minds organize the details to come up with a rational observation. And our minds continue improving the theory by explaining the observation until a group of exceptional thinkers breaks through or transcends to a higher level of understanding that offers an explanation that others can grasp. You can visualize it this way. Draw a vertical axis. At the bottom, place the word emergence, and just below it, the word nothing, also known as the void or the vacuum. At the top, place the word transcendence. Somehow, from this void at the bottom, emerged matter and energy, which coalesced into stars and solar systems and galaxies. And from matter and energy, organic life emerged. As we move up this vertical axis, we move toward the top, which is labeled transcendence. Transcendence takes place when man's understanding reaches beyond to arrive at a level of understanding that exceeds our limits of complexity and infinity. Here's a simple example. A water wave is nothing more than a bunch of water molecules moving around. But our brain goes beyond that and describes a water wave in terms of height, direction, and velocity. We do the same when turning air molecule vibrations into sound. By the way, the phenomenon of something having a height, direction, and velocity is called a vector. And mathematicians have extended the concept of a vector to get a tensor, which is a mathematical structure used in cosmology as well as quantum mechanics to make the system of equations easier to understand. You might like to watch the philosopher of science, Willard Van Orman Quine's video on the limits of knowledge. He too says man's brain bumps into asymptotic limits, but man can always move closer and closer toward them. And even a little bit of progress is encouraging. And if these great thinkers were alive today, they might say that ChatGPT will extend the brain's limits, just like the ever more powerful atom smashers, telescopes, and quantum computers are doing. You might also enjoy watching a YouTube video called Understanding Classic Civilization to see examples of emergence and transcendence that have taken place throughout the history of civilization. And I'll end this podcast with an answer ChatGPT gave me to this question. How much further will ChatGPT push man's understanding of nature? Here's what it says. The development of ChatGPT has raised questions about its impact on human understanding and creativity. While ChatGPT has the ability to summarize and present knowledge in a more accessible manner, it also possesses challenges related to transparency, ethics, and the potential homogenization of content. Some concerns have been raised about over-reliance on ChatGPT, which may hinder the development of new skills and originality. Additionally, there are discussions about the cultural and linguistic biases in the content generated by ChatGPT. As with any powerful technology, the impact of ChatGPT on human understanding and creativity will depend on how it is used and the measures taken to address its limitations and ethical considerations. The future implications of ChatGPT on human understanding and creativity are still being explored, and it is important to approach its development and use with careful consideration. The search results provide insights into the potential impact of ChatGPT on human understanding and creativity. They highlight the benefits of its ability to summarize and present knowledge, as well as concerns about over-reliance, ethical considerations, and cultural biases in its content. The discussions surrounding ChatGPT's influence on human understanding and creativity are ongoing, reflecting the complex implications of this technology. So I will say thank you for listening, and bye-bye until next time.